In this video, you're going to learn how to test for Asperger syndrome at home effectively and fast. Coming right up. Hey, what's up? I'm Dan. I have Asperger syndrome, ADHD and OCD. I make videos on helping people understand autism from an autistic point of view every single week. So if you want to learn more, remember to hit that subscribe button. So I've looked around on the internet for other ways and other websites that have tests for Asperger syndrome, and I found this one in this video, the most effective way to test for Asperger syndrome in your own home as a starting point. Oh, and I'd also like to know, do you prefer saying Asperger syndrome or autism spectrum disorder? Let me know in the comments below. Welcome back, Aspie World fam, the most awesome and most accepting family on YouTube. And if you're not a part of the family already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you become part of this awesome accepting movement. So we're going to talk about what is Asperger syndrome, what is the AQ test, and how we test for Asperger syndrome, why this test is effective, and then what do you do after you get your score from this test, because I know that's a question a lot of people actually have. So what is Asperger syndrome? Asperger syndrome is a neurological condition that impairs people's social interaction and communication abilities. This is more common with people when they're trying to communicate socially, when they're trying to learn and understand in an academic point of view. That this is kind of a pattern that you may see somebody struggling in these areas, and it could be because they may be on the autism spectrum. And Asperger syndrome is part of the autism spectrum. It is at the higher end of the more high-functioning autism spectrum disorders, but it is still nonetheless a very serious condition, and Asperger syndrome is part of the autism spectrum disorder and is still an autism spectrum condition, and this is something that we need to remember. So as Asperger syndrome sometimes is called the hidden disability, a lot of people don't really know that they have it because it's not, you know, if you're physically disabled, people can spot it in my way because it's identifiable by a third party. It's a wheelchair or something, or a crutch, or whatever that may be. But with Asperger syndrome and autism, these are classed as hidden disabilities. So how do you know if you have a hidden disability or not? Well, the best way to do it is to do some home checks, or do some kind of maybe home testing and see if it's right. I mean, you could sit down for ages and do loads and loads of research and read like a ton of books and see if any of those books actually help match up to the condition, and then say, well, maybe this person has it, and then you have to go through a whole process of talking to specialists and stuff. But before you do that, there is another way that you can test for Asperger syndrome and see if you or a person you know has the condition, if they're willing to take this test. So what is an AQ test? Well, an AQ test is an Asperger's quiz, Asperger's quota, which basically means that it's a series of questions that you answer honestly and openly in a certain format, and then it will score you on how well you did. So basically how it works is that you'll have a list of about 50 questions, and each of the questions is very specific to the condition of Asperger's syndrome. Now, you have four options. You have like strongly agree, slightly disagree, and strongly disagree. So you have to answer the question out of one of those four items. So once you do that, and you have to go through every single one, and the best thing I can say about this actual test is that with an AQ test, you have to be honest, and you have to go, okay, don't try and think about how you think somebody on the spectrum could feel, or how you think somebody who's neurotypical should feel. Think about how you feel and how you will answer the question specifically, because again, this is testing how much characteristics or traits you have that align with this condition, so that you can get the help and access to help that you need effectively and efficiently. So once you've actually gone through all of the 50 questions and answered them honestly and to the best of your ability, you can then click go get my score, and then it will score you. So the scoring process can be anywhere from 1 to 50, and the idea is that if you are between 28 and 33, that's kind of like borderline autism or Asperger's syndrome. But if you're from like 33 to 50, that bracket means that you are more than likely on the spectrum, or definitely have the condition that you're on the spectrum, and this would advise you to seek it further. Now, for instance, I scored 48 on the test when I did it, and this is one of the things that I did to go and get my diagnosis, and I'm going to talk about that in a short while. If you're interested in learning more about symptoms and traits of autism, click the card above here, because I made a video on that specifically. So why is the AQ test effective? Now, the AQ test isn't just something that somebody's plonked online and said, oh, this will tell you if you have autism or not. No, no, no. This is an accredited way of doing it. So when you go through an autism screening, when I had my diagnosis, I actually took 2 or 3 of the AQ tests with different psychologists and autism specialists because they use it as a base, like a baseline for answering those specific questions that affect the triad of impairment, which is how they diagnose autism in people. So this test is highly effective, and it is the most effective way to test for autism and Asperger's syndrome in a person. But the beauty of it is you can do it from your own home. I have actually left a link for this test in the description below, so you can actually do the test after this video. I find it very, very effective, and this is what I did. So I wanted to talk about, what do you do after you get your AQ test score, and what do you do, so you've got your score, you've done your test and you've got your score, well, what's next? Well, if your score is lower than 33, I wouldn't think too much about it, but maybe revisit it again, maybe in a year or two, to see if you feel like you're gaining more symptoms or something that isn't right, because again, it's all to do with timing. You may be feeling really good and positive on one day, and you may answer the quiz. It may not honestly reflect how you are as a person and how your traits affect you. But what I would say is that if you're from 33 to 50, I would say that you should do what I did, and what I did is I got this score result and then I went to see my doctor. But before going to see my doctor to speak about getting a referral to an Asperger's specialist or an autistic unit or an autism specialist or a mental health team to talk further about this in the process of getting a diagnosis, I actually then compiled a list of things. Well, I didn't do it, but my family members and my partner, she wrote down a list of traits that she could see in me that were kind of non-neurotypical traits, where obviously I couldn't really pick them out because they are me and this is my daily life, but she could also find out if something was not really neurotypical in a sense. So once you've compiled your list and you have your AQ test score, you can take both of these documents to the doctor and ask for a referral to a mental health team or an autism specialist or an Asperger specialist, because they will be the ones to help diagnose you. But the thing is, if you're helping them do their work for them and you've got an AQ test score and then you've also got this list of traits, you're kind of ahead of the game, and it'll help speed up the process because it is a long process. To learn more about autism, check out the next video in this line and hit that subscribe button so you're notified every single time I upload a video. I'll see you next time, guys. Peace.